Janice says, good day. I hope you will be able to clarify for me. My understanding of a sectional title unit is that everything in the unit belongs to the owner. Can you please advise whether I understand this correctly? In short, Janice has bought a sectional title unit and the seller did not disclose that someone else's geyser was in the unit, or at least what we believe in this question. It doesn't outline it to be maybe in the ceiling above her unit. Janice says when she discovered this, she has asked the seller to remove the geyser, which they now refuse to do. Janice wants to know, does she have recourse in this regard? Bruno?
So it's a difficult question to answer simply because we're not appraised of all the necessary facts in order to be able to answer it. There's a lot of speculation. I mean, you saw from the way that we, like we discussed it just before the show. So there's a number of variations, and we're making certain assumptions. So say the general rule is yes, absolutely. It's the owner's responsibility within the sectional unit to maintain that unit up to a certain degree. So there's certain insurable things that you'd that you'd have to take care of. You'd be responsible for the maintenance within the unit. Then directly outside of the unit, you'd be looking at common walls, for example. So within ceilings, roofs, that sort of thing. Now, unfortunately, we need to look at it on a fact-by-fact basis. So there isn't a stock standard way of looking at it to say this is common, this isn't common. I mean, we've had plenty of episodes about this where people are asking, but awnings, you know, where does that fall? Who needs to maintain that? Yeah, so the outside walls and gardens, that's also another question. But now let's kind of stick to the geyser question. Where is the geyser actually located? Now, if the geyser belongs to the unit and is connected to the unit and is sitting in the ceiling, the assumption is obviously it belongs to that specific unit. If memory serves me correct, the body corporates insurance would actually cover that specific geyser under their general insurance policy. What Chris pointed out was the potential that there's a geyser in the ceiling, but it's connected to another unit. And if the client wants it removed because it feels that it shouldn't be within her ceiling where she is entitled to have a geyser or storage or whatever the case is. In that instance, it does become a bit more of a difficult question because, again, you look at the common property and where cables run, where pipes run, where geysers are stored are typically common property. So the answer there would be no, that space wouldn't actually belong to you. It would be for the furtherance of the occupation of the occupiers in that building. So it's not your exclusive space. It would be common shared space in the sense that wires need to run from one unit to another. So it's almost the equivalent of having a servitude over your property where it would run across in order to be able to supply somebody on the other side. And the storage of geysers, it applies exactly the same. It is just stored at the top. Chris, I don't know if there's any like other type of variation that you'd want to look at. I know that the one we discussed is potentially that it's a unconnected geyser, and it might actually be in a place that's taking up her space within the unit itself. That's a different story because that's, you know, that's very similar to a seller selling you something and leaving furniture or like an old couch or a broken TV in the unit. In those instances, one would say that you'd just be able to get rid of this specific item. I would suspect here that it wouldn't be that simple. Otherwise, chances are the client would have wanted to just throw it away.
I know that we're not an insurance seminar webinar, but I wanted to quickly find out from you guys in terms of, let's say it's a connected geyser, right? And I'm sorry to just throw this question out there. We didn't discuss it prior, but if it is a connected geyser and it's running into somebody else's unit, supplying water to their unit, and there's a potential leak from that geyser, which is not, let's say, supposed to be in our client's ceiling, the damage that is caused by that. And even with regards to our client's household insurance, the fact is that we did not know that this was above it. Now, Bruno, I remember you mentioning earlier that it would be covered by the body corporates insurance. Is that correct? I mean, for purposes of Janice, would there be some comfort from an insurance standpoint? Is it something she needs to disclose to her insurer? What would we do from a practical standpoint there?
So from my experience, damage caused to one unit by another unit, or items in the other unit, like say for example, like anything accidental, would be covered by the policy. I suppose unless it's intentional. So I'm trying to think of examples now, but with geysers are always covered under the building policies. Always. There's no question about that. And I mean, even if it's a sectional unit that's freestanding, the building policies would often cover the geysers. Or I've seen it cover the geysers on occasion. So I don't know if that's the same in each and every scenario. So yes, I would probably, if I was her, just verify that then, because then approach the body corporate, ask the body corporate, what does the insurance policy say regarding geysers? And who's actually the owner of the geyser. And also, just to go back to the question, such a strange question, because I've never seen a geyser have separate ownership to the house or the unit. And if there's a past tenant involved that said, well, I bought it, so it's mine, that also raises a million questions, because is it really theirs? The many lease agreements make provision for basically the appropriation of fixtures like that to the owner or landlord once the lease is terminated. So it's a bit of a strange scenario. I'd really love to know how this arose, because that would actually probably give us context on how to best answer it. Claire, I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
No, I think I echo what you say in the sense that we can really only speculate until we're apprised of all the facts. I think just from a practical standpoint, she needs to maybe ascertain whether that does in fact fall under the common property and what the situation is, who owns that particular geyser.
100%. Thanks, guys. I think to Janice, our viewer asked a question. Please don't feel afraid to post some follow-up question or some information on your question that you have asked. I think it'll enable us, like we're saying, to provide you with a little bit more specific information to your problem.